Are you a Chad or are you sad? Welcome everybody to the Creed of Crypto live stream. My name is Boi Crypto, and I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. Welcome into the show. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're talking about, are you Chad or are you sad about the current PulseChain prices, as well as really all of crypto prices? We've seen them dip here over the last few days, although a slight pump in the market today with the news of American CPI data coming in a little bit better than expected at a 3.3%. So markets reacted positively to that. Welcome in everybody in the chat so far. Of course, our trusty producer, Take a Break with Jake, has already been in here camping out. So shout out to him. Rob Brown, LFG. Yeah, welcome in, man. We got DJ Moonboy here as well. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody. We got a big show for you tonight. So we're going to talk about we got Harvey Diaz as well. Okay. Not sad, just I don't know what that's about, but interesting.
Are you sad or are you a Chad?
Okay. He's disappointed. Okay. All right. Well, he's somewhere in the middle. He's certainly not a Chad. I guess I'll say that. But hey, we'll talk about disappointment and stuff like that tonight as well. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Nice pumpage in the market today. We had a big bridge into the PulseChain ecosystem today. We'll talk about that. Everybody's flipping out about Richard Hart unfollowing people. There was a long stream about it entirely last night. Maybe we'll delve into our thoughts on that a little bit as well. But there's a lot to talk about. It's a bull market. It's crypto time. It is a boring part of the bull market apparently right now. But we got a lot of stuff coming up. So Ewok, how are you and how are you feeling about everything tonight?
I'm pretty good. Seeing some things in the Ethereum chart that are kind of bullish, I think, anyway. So at least there's that. I think we're going to have a nice little run up here toward the end of the month. I've seen some it looks bullish, I think. So, yeah, I think everything's good. I'm not butthurt by the unfollowing or anything like that. So, yeah, life is good. Touch some grass with your bare feet and enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah, I think I saw Stylo the other day ventured out. He uploaded a video even to prove that he touched some grass really quick. So the other day, so that was always good to see. Yeah. So let's talk about BTC and ETH right now and where we're at. So yeah, Bitcoin, it had kind of led the market obviously in dipping over the last couple of days. I think it may have got down to about 66K or so. I'm not real sure. ETH obviously moves down with it, as does everything else. You mentioned feeling positive about ETH. Now, I was going to bring up, I mean, basically in this little Bitcoin Ethereum part of the show that we always do at the top, you know, we've really been focusing on Ethereum the last few weeks since the approval of the ETF, wondering if there would be some big sell-off post announcement or anything like that. We have not seen a big sell-off. We did see the ratio creep up to levels it hadn't been for quite a while against BTC, but it petered out pretty quickly. And now, I mean, what I had been seeing is that it came right back down to that like 0.5 or 0.51 number, which is definitely not fantastic. But you're saying that there are things that you feel positive about. I mean, there certainly are with me too. I mean, fundamentally, I just don't know on the chart right now. It hasn't quite made a big recovery against Bitcoin anyway. So, yeah, what are your thoughts here on ETH? Because that's really what we and the rest of the market should really be focusing on.
Yeah, so I was looking more at the USD, not really the ratio. But I just think this looks strong. I think so. This is the daily. Yeah, this is the daily candle. It's just pumped. I really think, looking at this, that we're gaining some strength. This was a nice big candle. It did have some correction, almost as much as, you know, obviously there was a big candle yesterday, which was a sell-off, but it really tried to rebound, and it's holding. So I think if within the next 2 days or so, if we can eclipse this last sell-off, which would be pretty quick in my mind, I think by the end of the month we could be over 4,000. It's just something about, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not the best TA guy, but I can see the different patterns. And when they decide to take off, it reminds me of this kind of thing. And then we see a boom. Plus, I think we're going to get some news on the ETF. And I just really think by the end of June, first week of July or so, that we'll be eclipsing this 4,000 and approaching the all-time high.
I am going to have to fix my mic because the stand is falling. So if you want to continue on that point and maybe go further into where your thoughts are on ETH over the next few weeks, because this whole thing is falling off the stand. So I'm gonna
Okay.
let you
Yeah,
go
not
for
a
a minute.
problem.
And then if you want to transition into the PulseChain stuff, since it'll give you a lot to talk about too, go right ahead. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I kind of finished that thought. But yeah, so let's go into the PulseChain stuff here. We'll go over the stats and see where we are. Let's share this one. So we've got Pulse at 0.52 SAC rate, which is 40516. Pulse X at 40224, which is it's creeping up on what is it, 0.4 of the SAC rate. So incentive token, we had that big injection of capital today that picked up a little bit of incentive. It's up 10%, up to $2.77. We got Hex at 0.00649, and eHex, our favorite redheaded stepchild, 0.0014. So let's take a little look here. We're going to pull up Deck Screener for the pulse chart and see how things are looking here with the USD. So yeah, we are getting a nice little bounce back, nice little recovery here. Things are starting to kind of recover slowly. If we can get a couple days, this is the week candle. So we're on our second green weekly candle so far. This week did pretty much just start. So, we can continue this trend. I think I'm hoping we're out of the woods. Hopefully we get some bigger injections of funds to see if the sellers are done quite yet or not. I mean, it's really going to depend on how much capital comes in and when it does. Are the sellers exhausted, and do we start to get a run up, or do we get a 50% rise from here and they dump it again? I think what's going to happen is one of these times you're going to get some major sellers that they've been traders. Really, I don't want to call them sellers, but traders are just playing these pumps, and they sell it down and then they try to buy it back cheaper. But I think one of these times, I think the pump is going to get away from them. And when that happens, I really see it kind of taking off because then everybody has to play catch up. And they end up with a lot less than what they started with by just playing these, trading games that they play. So just my thought. You're back now?
How well can you hear me? Because I had to reposition this. Do you hear me okay?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you on like some of the recent sell-off. And the big point that I wanted to make here is that we magically saw Pulse with a weekly close that was green finally this past week. So that is good. And immediately after that, I made a note. It was Monday morning. We went down right away back to that 4 zeros and a 4.8 number. But as you can see today, off the back of some news that we'll talk about in a minute, that the inflation numbers in the US came in a little bit better than expected. We are seeing it kind of move back up again. So it's really that 50% off the SAC rate that we're really wanting to see. Will it be able to keep closing over that 5 number that you're talking about, which would be encouraging if we could see that. But I think you're right. A lot of people are playing around in this zone, and there's a lot of whales, obviously, that whenever things start to move up, that they want to exit and things like that. But one of these times, it just isn't going to come back. Now, I don't know that we're in that zone right now. I think because of the fact, we've talked about this double bottoming thing. No, we haven't gone back to the lows from whatever that was, August or whatever. But this is the zone. We are bottoming again. This is pretty much, you're right there. It's not a large percentage, and I don't think we're going to be here forever, but I also don't think we're going to just bounce right out immediately. So,
well, there's something else to be said too. This level could be the one defending, and we could go back and say, all right, this day here, this 0.0033, whatever it is, I think it's around 3311 or 33 something right there. That was the absolute bottom. And, that could live on forever. Now we're getting into this area where we're finding, a lot of support. and it seems to kind of be holding here. So if somebody is really defending that area, that could make this the all-time low instead of really getting a double bottom. This could still be kind of the double bottom that we're looking for. I mean, it's close enough, right? Once things start to take off and it starts to go up, and you zoom out, this level here and this level here are not really much different, because everything really starts to compress when you get to the log chart of what really happens as time goes on.
Yeah. And let's talk about that move today. I think you touched on it a minute when I was adjusting things there, but the amount bridged in today, which I think fits into this conversation just because of the fact that we are, pumping a little bit today. So a number that we haven't seen bridged into PulseChain for quite some time, in one clip anyway, 1.3 million came in today. And we've said this before, neither one of us are like wallet sleuths or anything like that. I just happened to see it on the updates from one of those Pulse accounts today. But yeah, bridged in over $1 million, bought a little bit of Ink token. I think you did say this, and then PDI as well, which is extremely interesting. And then nothing else quite yet. So we were discussing this off air, but what do you really make of that and the timing of a big bridge like that? Because usually when we see money like that, it's like, oh, what does this guy know that we don't know? Is it a whale of some sort or something? Because we saw the CPI thing today, came in a little bit better than expected. I can't imagine that happening was some kind of huge signal for all these gigantic buyers on the sideline. Obviously the market is up, but it just, I don't know. Why do you think we see that move today? I mean, I like it obviously either way, but that money coming into PulseChain right now, when seemingly we may have another month or two of this kind of hanging out in this zone or kind of slowly crawling out of here. I'm just curious your thoughts on that, and maybe the choices of what to buy. Really interesting to buy the incentive token and PDI. Raises some questions for me, not in a negative way. I'm just curious, but yeah, what do you make of all that?
Well, I think it's just a little bit of front running. I think that obviously it's a whale. I'm trying to find the total amount. I don't know. Do you have that bookmarked? Because it was wrapped ETH, and I'm trying to find the.
I don't have it bookmarked, but I sent you a message about it today. So let me. Yeah,
you did. I got it. I'll
358 ETH.
So 358. So it was $1.3 million. Obviously a whale if they're just casually moving that much around. Wrapped Ethereum, 358 wrapped Ethereum. They've got some money in the market. So, I would consider that whalish behavior. I think they're trying to front run a couple things. Incentive being one. I think that is still, people look at it as the safe play because there is no origin address. There is no origin address owned tokens, I should say. And the PDI is, the Atropa ecosystem is still tied to a lot of things, right? So I think it's just a early speculative kind of front running that's happening. I don't think it's anybody that, we know. I mean, it could be somebody we know in the ecosystem, but I don't think it's a large player that, I don't think it's Sack Daddy.
Right.
That's doing this. And no, I think it would have been, I think it would have been called out had it been one of the addresses that we knew about anyway. So yeah, no, I just think there's front running going on. I think it's getting to be that time people are gonna dip their toes and kind of see how it plays out. It's been down for over a year now, and I think they feel that it's time. I'm kind of agreeing. The sentiment is starting to shift a little bit, and someone says, let's throw a dart here and see what happens. If it gets sold back down immediately, then we're still not quite ready, and I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think so too. Very interesting because you would consider both those buys to be somewhat speculative, even in this ecosystem. Yeah, I mean, like Ink, there are people out there. I know there are some people like Donovan Jolly from DIY Investing. I know Jenkins, the trader, talks about Ink all the time. Like, there's a lot of people who are extremely bullish on Ink and talk about it all the time, and are like, it's going to do better than everything in this ecosystem when things start to come up. Then there's others. I don't really see anybody trashing it or anything, but then there's others who kind of just like, well, I farm it for yield. I appreciate that. Some people even, don't even necessarily keep their Ink stack and use it to DCA into other stuff. I don't think that there is a right or wrong way. But I think I'll say this: I don't want to have like no exposure to Ink. Like, if all you're doing is farming it and not buying it, I wouldn't want to just get rid of all of it or anything. That's what I'm not anyway. I mean, I have used it in the past to like throw darts at other stuff, but I don't want to have zero Ink anyway.
Right. And the other option is too that they're possibly preparing to put some liquidity in, right? Because we know that there's a lot of decent percentage APRs out there on the Ink farms. Maybe they have some substantial amount of other stuff and just didn't feel they had quite enough Ink, and then just kind of threw a dart at the PDI stuff. Maybe they're preparing to add some liquidity to one of those pools. So there's a lot of possibilities out there. What they're doing, and again, it's total speculation on our part because we're not watching wallets or have that one identified as anybody in particular. So,
yeah.
Interesting
behavior nonetheless, and good to see that amount bridged in anyway. So things are green today. So, as much pain as there's been lately, might as well celebrate it a little bit. But I totally agree with some of the sentiment on Twitter. Like, there's people out there that are like, okay, you guys can stop with the "we are so back" tweets, and I agree completely. Like, we are not out of the woods yet. And again, this isn't even, I don't want, people watching or anybody to think that this is just our ecosystem. I mean, like, this is a lot of crypto ecosystems right now. Like, there was a pump for a lot of interesting tokens over the first quarter of this year, BTC being one of them, and a lot of memes across a lot of blockchains, mainly Solana. But we are still down in a lot of areas now, and we got a lot of room to run still. I mean, like, we don't know what's going to happen with this ETH announcement. The ETF is not actually live yet. Let's get some of that going, get a little bit further into this bull market and see where we're at in, 6 months from now anyway. So, got to keep toughing it out, basically. So,
let's take a look at the bubbles here and see what PulseChain.
I forgot that token existed, that thank you RH thing. That's funny.
Yeah, well, it's down 75% today. So, not liking everything else being up. Looks like Earn token is up 21, and I don't know what DMND is or Zoo. Those are never heard of either one of those. I was looking. It looks like Teddy Bear is one of the better performers that are more popular, right?
Right.
12%.
Yeah, you would imagine
10%.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd imagine that ecosystem would be doing a little bit well today if PDI got a big buy, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not even seeing PDI jump out at me here anywhere. Like, I haven't found it yet. There's just a lot of green, so it's I'm not seeing it offhand. But either way, good stuff. Obviously for the ecosystem today. Yeah,
so
we love green candles, right? Loan tokens up 10%. That's the eternal dump token because everybody farms it, sells it, and then pays back their loan. Here's PDI. It's only up. What's that say? 0? Or is that 0.6?
It's definitely up today. I was looking at it earlier, but
9%.
Yeah, things are 9% today. Ink is up 10% today. Yeah, so looking pretty decent across the board there. So so if you guys are enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor. I saw 10 likes earlier, and we only had like 30 some people in here at the time. But hey, if you're here, do us a favor, support the channel, support Real DeFi, hit the like button. We appreciate all of you guys being here tonight. I want to shift focus a little bit right now and talk about what we got today in the news in terms of U.S. inflation. We're not going to talk about this for too long, but the FOMC meeting is going on today as well, and tomorrow. The Fed and Jerome Powell, seek to basically remain employed and kind of position things the way they want to for the Democrats to get reelected in the fall. So that's kind of what their actions are going to reflect. But CPI coming in a little bit better than expected today. There's a very high expectation, almost certainty, I think, that the Fed is not going to do anything with interest rates and just kind of stand pat here tomorrow and then possibly even the rest of the year, the couple of more times that they're meeting. So it is interesting to see the CPI data come in better than expected, because I know the last couple were not like that, and people reacted negatively. But looking good today. What do you expect from the Fed tomorrow? Because I don't think we're going to see anything move, especially now that we see well, actually, I guess we're moving in the right direction with the CPI data dropping. But I still don't think we're going to see anything like a rate cut yet. I just don't think that they are going to want to, like, again, like I said, Jerome Powell is a Democrat. He wants to stay there. They want to protect Joe Biden and stuff like that. They don't want to upset the apple cart in really any way prior to the election, any more than, Dems can already be doing themselves. So
yeah, but I think we'll see at least one reduction before Election Day. Just for that reason, and that reason alone. I think they're going to try and protect it a little bit, and at least once. I don't see it happening tomorrow at all, but right. I do see us getting at least one rate reduction before Election Day in November. That's just my thoughts on it, trying to strengthen things a little bit more before Election Day. But I don't know. Do you agree with that? At least
no, I don't, because
you don't.
Because shortly after that, we'll likely see markets start to dump. So I don't think that they will want to. I don't think they'll want to do anything. I don't think they'll show their hand in really any direction of anything until after the election. Like right now, all they're doing is is trying to survive. You see Trump come out and say a bunch of like pro crypto rhetoric, and the Dems all suddenly care about it too and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to do anything to really, and keep in mind, I mean, the election's in November. I mean, they have meetings through December, actually. So, I mean, we could, knock on wood, if you have any around, have a new president-elect by that time anyway. So, yeah. So we'll see. But I don't think they're going to want to make any changes. Jerome Powell's basically just going to do whatever the administration wants him to do. So.
Well, obviously, they're just... Go ahead. They're obviously just puppets. So sorry.
Right. I was just going to say, it's kind of sick once you realize that we have a group of people like the Fed, and then of course the SEC too, that are just like a group of unelected officials that get to determine monetary policy in the United States based on like whatever party they belong to.
Yep. Yep. It's one of those funny things. You go back to the conspiracy theory side of things, and you look at, one of the reasons why JFK was assassinated is because, there's discussion of him trying to dismantle that whole group of people at the Fed and all of that good stuff. It's one of the reasons why they took him out. So
right, trying to pull out of the war too, but they didn't want that happening. So
yep. So it just goes to show you how strong they are as unelected people. They've got a lot of power for not being appointed.
Yeah.
Or for elected, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Hex Girl, that meeting is today and tomorrow. Usually it's a 2-day thing, and then they announce their decision as far as rates the next day. So tomorrow, or am I lying about that? Maybe today was the second day.
Yeah, today was the second day. It was yesterday and today.
Yeah, we've had so little action from them on any of this that I lose track now. Like these meetings haven't really been that important for like 6 months now. Because I mean, there was a time I was just looking at some of our streams from last year. We were discussing like 75-point rate hikes and stuff like that. Like every meeting was just like, oh boy, what are they going to do here? How's it going to affect the market? Now it's just like nothing's really going on. So yeah, my bad. I guess that did already happen, and apparently they didn't do anything because I didn't hear anything. So
yep, they didn't. They left it the same.
Yeah. I don't know. I think tomorrow is their actual announcement. I refuse to let that go. I'm pretty sure it's June 13th.
Well, you look it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty positive that's tomorrow. I think the first day was today, and then tomorrow is the...
I thought it was the 11th.
No, I lied. 12th. Yeah, you're right. It's 11th and 12th. Okay. Well, I missed all that apparently then. So
it's all right. You didn't miss anything, man.
Apparently I didn't do anything. So
and Hex Girl, you didn't miss anything either because they didn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right. Well, that covers that topic, I think. Let's move on and welcome in some of you guys that are pouring in here. Thank you, Brownie's Midlife Adventure. I don't remember you from previous streams, so welcome in. Alaska Fisherman, of course. Last few weeks you've been here. Appreciate you joining in as well. Let's see where we are here. So before we get into the Richard talking about not following other people, because I know people have opinions about that, and he unfollowed everybody or whatever. Let's talk about we saw this the other day, and I'll DM you this. I did bookmark it, but Richard calling for PulseChain links, and the current search results for PulseChain like don't net negative results. And he was talking about wanting like different links, different things set up for people to be able to access the sites more easily and things like that. Let me send this over to you right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. So specifically, he said this on June 7th, and I found it kind of interesting. So he says, how can you win by getting back to basics? Example, SEO, search for PulseChain or whatever you like. You get mostly harmful results. Why? Because you are not doing SEO. Create many links to useful sites with your keyword in the anchor text, then good sites will outrank bad. So he's not just saying PulseChain, he's saying anything, you'll get bad results for. He goes on to say, if you want to dominate the first page, you need 10 different great sites to link to. Studies show the clicks fall off quickly as you scroll down the SERPs. Market cap sites are harmful. They advertise scams, don't show the right markets, list the wrong news, are all bad. Definitely has a point there. Exchanges that rank for your keyword but don't even have you listed are also harmful. They're just punking your keyboard for traffic. Gosh, there's even price predictions for 2040. How sad that such trash is being shown to searchers. How many links did you create today? Yeah, you need not link to pulsechain.com as it already ranks first for PulseChain. So I think this is interesting, and it's another way of him like kind of trying to, he does everything he can. We know this. I mean, like, I think obviously people that don't pay attention at the SEC and things like that don't. But Richard is pretty much does all he can to remove himself from these products. I mean, he's like commissioned them. He founded them. But there's very little that he does day to day to have anything to do with them. So I find it interesting for him to kind of put a call out to the community like this. And of course, he also sees and recognizes not necessarily our channel, but channels like ours. There's people across YouTube, Twitter that create a lot of content centered around PulseChain. But I do think this could be a really untapped thing. I think he makes a great point here. So what do you think specifically he might be pointing towards? And I'd love to see people get on this. And I know that boy, when was it that RH Max created that awesome GoRealDeFi.com a while back?
Yeah.
With the, now I haven't used it in a while because I just kind of know where all the links are on PulseChain.com, but just linking you straight to the bridge, linking you straight to the DEX, all that stuff. So what do you make of this? Because I do think it's a really good thing to keep things decentralized in this way and have other people get stuff set up. So what do you think?
So SEO, you're aware, is search engine optimization, right? So yeah. There's a lot of people that are very good at that, at improving it, right? So I'm not one of them. I really don't know how to do search engine optimization, but there are people out there that are really good at it. I know Coffee has talked about it. I think he's actually made some videos on how to improve your SEO for your own stuff. So, there's a lot of things like that can be done. It just requires some learning. I'm not afraid to learn. I just need to find the time to do it. But his point was, for example, when you Google the PulseChain bridge, I don't think the actual PulseChain bridge comes up first, or it didn't used to. I think it
does for me. I just pulled it up and it does, but
okay.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Somebody has improved it because it didn't used to, and I know somebody got scammed because of that, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do as far as improving the rankings, and that's what SERP is too. I believe it's search engine ranking page is what that stands for. So there are ways to go in, keyword different things when you search, or tie them to that page so that the right links come up first. Obviously we want people to get good results when they search and not a fictitious or a scam link that's going to pop up. I mean, I know we preach all the time and we haven't preached it in a while as far as security goes, but not Googling things like that because they can pop up. Bad things, malicious links can pop up because all it takes is somebody that really knows what they're doing to get them to rank above the original one or the actual one. So, just be very careful, but people need to be diligent about it, and that's exactly what he's talking about. Back to basics. Get these things ranking. So when you search crypto, even search crypto, let's get PulseChain to show up. That's one of the big things that can impact it, and it's pretty easy to do. I just, like I said, I need to go in and do some research on how to do it. I'm sure there's a lot of hashtags and things like that you can link things to that would help it in the rankings.
I was going to say, so I did just see this, and this may be what you were referring to, and I do think I remember hearing this in the past, but if you search for PulseChain bridge, so for me, the PulseChain.com bridge comes up. Now, I also have used that specific one many times and have it bookmarked and all this stuff, so there's that. But there is something I've never seen before that I definitely, my inclination is to say that it is some kind of scam because I have never seen it. I could be wrong, whatever, I don't know. But there is one right after that comes up that is pulsechain-bridge.co that I am not familiar with. I've never seen it before. Mm-hmm. Not familiar with the site. It doesn't look shady when you click on it. It seems real. And then it says enter app. I don't know what it is though, and I don't need it, so I'm not going to click on anything.
Yep, I wouldn't click on it, and I'm not familiar with it either. There is a, I forget what the name of the site is. I'll look for it while you're. Are
you talking about another bridge?
No, it was almost a ranking type thing of all the different stuff that was out there, and I forget who put it out. KDP advertised it for quite a while.
Is it from the PulseCoin list website? Because it has like a list of it has bridges right on there.
Do you see that one .co anywhere? Pulse.
I'll
look it up.
This site looks like it's not even being upkept anymore, practically.
Pulse. List.
Yeah. I'm on pulsecoinlist.com and their bridges, but it only has like 3 listed and there's no links or anything. I'm not sure what's going on there. It doesn't look. Oh, here they are. Okay, now I see the actual list. Simple Swap, StealthX, which I've heard of, Rubik Exchange, Portal X, Tokens Express. I actually used that once and it was good. Change Now, Block Blend, which we've talked about before, Let's Exchange, Heart Bridge, never heard of that, Pulse LN, which I've heard of, Pulse Ramp. And that's all it's got. Now, it doesn't have Spark Swap there, and it doesn't have the actual bridge, like from pulsechain.com. So that doesn't, I don't think it contains everything necessarily, but that's the ones that they list on there anyway. So I'm fairly certain that one I see out there is not legit. So yeah, that's a caution to people to be careful. Like, that's why we don't do that. I mean, like we also have now bridged a million times, but I'm not going to just Google PulseChain bridge or something like that and click on something. I would want to go to the source, go to pulsechain.com and use the bridge that way, So
Pulse Ramp is the official bridge, I think.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Yes, that leads to bridge.
Oh, yes, it is.
Because that's what it used to be originally. It was known as Pulse Ramp. But they fixed it, so yes, that is the actual one on that ranking. So yeah,
okay, cool.
So they do list it last, but
yeah, but definitely good to have those things, collected in one spot. Yeah,
definitely not seeing that other one.
Okay, yeah, I don't think it's very legit. So, okay, so let's see. I think we can probably move on from that, but good stuff from Richard. I mean, because you want people out there creating those kind of things, and it's one thing to do like all the content that everybody does and everything. I think that's great. There's a lot of outreach going on out there. We always talk about Corey, Gary, and Dane that do like the Lord's work, going out with all these real estate people and stuff in real life, going to mastermind groups and getting them into the ecosystem and stuff. And then you've got Gary Woods, the whole Monect initiative with all those guys right now. It's all fantastic. But yeah, anywhere that you can do more work to get people into the ecosystem is fantastic. So if you have those skills, definitely work on some SEO for PulseChain would be awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the unfollow gate that everybody's all upset about. So I think that we're going to have probably, I don't know about a unique take, but at least one that I don't know that I've heard too much of anyway. And it looks like our potential guest may be in the green room now. And this actually might be a good topic to throw his way to start off.
Let's bring KG in. What's happening, brother?
KG, how's it going, man?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
I got you.
Fine.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you guys for being the most patient human beings in the world. And after all your patience, I even got the time zone wrong. So apologies, but thank you. You guys have been awesome. Thanks for having me.
All good, man. All good. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, man. Nice to meet you well, kind of in person as well. But yeah, we really wanted to have you on because you're real, I think, thoughtful mind in this ecosystem. Obviously, for anybody that doesn't know, KG, the creator of Internet Money Wallet, which is pretty unique to PulseChain. And I think you have, from what I've seen you on Twitter, and you had a space a couple of weeks ago I was listening in on. You have a very calm demeanor about things and are very thoughtful. I thought you had a clip on Twitter I saw the other day too that was really cool. So I want to get into that stuff with you. But sure. Right now, just in the flow of the show, because we're getting to this point, I'm curious your opinion on it. We'll talk to Ewok as well. So Richard, of course, everybody the other day is some people, not everybody, people are up in arms that, okay, he started to unfollow people. I actually think I have the tweet bookmarked, and I think I sent it to you as well, Ewok. You may even have it on hand anyway. Let me see here. So he started off the thread just by saying the founder of Bitcoin isn't known for following anyone on X, worked well. And then he just said this account also follows 0 people. When you don't really read Twitter but follow people, you have no idea what trash might be fed by the algo to your followers. Thus, to protect your followers, it's safer to follow no one. No one can claim buy this trash. RH follows me and ethics win. Yeah, so I don't know how many people he was actually following, but he went off on a couple of tweets about that. And yeah, there you go, Ewok. KG, I'm interested in your thoughts on that, because my opinion of it is, to me, it made sense for him to probably never really follow anyone, just because some people do, I think, use it as an endorsement by de facto. Well, this guy's following me, whatever product I may be creating or whatever thoughts I have, he endorses, which I think is naive. I can't imagine anybody would actually think that, but some do. So I think this was a good move. He never followed me, so I wouldn't be worried either way. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it. As a guy who does have a product out there that is held in high regard, especially in the PulseChain circle, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it was a necessary step by RH? And yeah, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on this whole thing.
Sure. Now, this has definitely been a hot topic in the community, has it not? Yeah. And I can see both sides of the argument, in that people believe that by Richard following them, it is a form of support. And now I'll speak from the perspective of Richard was following both myself and the Internet Money Project Twitter. Now, we never took that as an endorsement because, again, like you said, that's a stretch. Is every single person you're following an endorsement of that person? I follow people that I staunchly disagree with simply because I want to engage with their content, or I like to have a rounded perspective. So I personally never took it as an endorsement. And when he unfollowed everybody, I also didn't take it as an offense. I don't feel entitled to be followed. And I actually can see where he's coming from, because there were people, and I never publicly said, oh, he endorsed us. Now, I shared the news because it is exciting, because it's a level of like, oh man, the big man, is at least noticed you for whatever that's good or bad, noticed you, right? So I can see where he's come from, because there were people out there who were using it as a true endorsement. Like, I saw explicit Richard Hart endorses this product or this person's content. So it was getting kind of dangerous. And then it also added the element of, hey, if he wasn't following you, that said something, and I put it in quotes because it shouldn't have, that said something that maybe you were a bad person, or what you were talking about wasn't good enough, when what you were talking about could have been the best thing in the world. So it started to become this metric of validation and approval. And so I think it made a lot of sense for him to say, I'm just going to unfollow everybody. And that way I'm not pseudo endorsing people or people exploiting me, or I'm not hurting people that I'm not following. So I think it kind of leveled things.
Yeah, I agree with that. I the way I see it, he did follow me as well. And I think I had told you this in the green room before. I viewed it as a badge of honor. I was here early. He followed a lot of us early that didn't obviously piss him off along the way somewhere or another. And, you know, I never looked at it as an endorsement. I never launched anything myself. So, you know, I wouldn't look at it that way. But I do agree. There were some out there that used it to their advantage. Whether, you know, he really did endorse them or whether he just clicked that button that said follow at one point and never noticed what they were doing, if he liked it or not. So, yeah, it could have been very dangerous. But, you know, another way to look at it is, does it free up people now to speak more freely without the worry of having him unfollow or block or whatever? I think it allows people to be their creative selves without having to worry about that anymore. So, you know, as much as people look at it as a bad thing, I think it could be a good thing too. So, yeah, it really didn't bother me one way or another. I never used it as an accolade or anything like that. I was proud of it, obviously, that he followed me, but, you know, I didn't make it known.
I hear exactly what you're saying, because I know that also some people tailored their speech as to not lose that follow.
Right.
And so I think, all things considered, I mean, if there's negative, maybe, I mean, you could argue maybe there's a possible negative, but if anything, it's a net positive, probably.
Yeah.
That it occurred.
Sure.
I think so too. Echoing what you said, Ewok. Yeah, I saw Trevon actually tweeted this today. That people that really were tailoring what they said. Also, as you said, KG, to what RH might want to hear, they're now free to shill whatever meme coins they want to, because they're not going to lose an unfollow or anything like that.
Right.
Maybe it was Katie finally coming around to the Tang Gang or something. I don't know what it was. something made RH unfollow everybody. So, but no, I do think it's a good thing, and I don't think anybody should have ever, you know, anytime you're tailoring what you're saying to appease or appeal to somebody else, I don't think you're really acting with the best intentions, you know, anyway. But yeah, I think it's great. And Ewok and I were saying earlier too, plenty of times RH has just publicly said, maybe not an endorsement, but he say, hey, a lot of people use Hedron.pro or whatever, you know, and he's shouted out like other people like that. So I think as long as he does that it's fine. But I didn't really have any other thoughts on it. Did you have any other stuff on that, KG or Ewok?
Nope.
Well, I guess the final thought to your point, he actually, because he sent out 3 tweets in about a month time frame. He said positive things about the PH ecosystem. He said positive things about liquid loans, and then he said some positive things about internet money. And even when he said, though, I still didn't use it as an endorsement. And to this day, I've never called it an endorsement. I say exactly what it was. He said positive things, and that was a great day, you know, for him to, because not only as the project founder, but even Vitalik talks about products on Ethereum. Charles Hoskinson talks about products on Cardano. Brian Armstrong talks about products on Base Chain. So it's not crazy that Richard is talking about products that are built on his chain. I think there's an element in this community, though, that if Richard says something, there's a little more fanaticism about it, maybe.
Oh yeah,
and
I don't know if little more is the
yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Let me. There's some fanaticism about it, and yeah, I think people may take the good things he says and the bad things he says a little too far, because at the end of the day, incredibly talented individual, incredibly intelligent individual, still a man like the rest of us.
Yeah,
very true. Yeah.
So that brings up a good topic, though, that you touched on. Richard's been tweeting lately about creating a wallet. So how do you see that? And well, what's your thoughts on that? And how does it affect what you've created as an internet money wallet?
Sure. So actually, when we announced that we were building a wallet, and it's been 2.5 years or 3 years almost, we've been from building to now. He announced he was going to build his wallet within a couple months after we announced that we were building. So this has always kind of been a part of our reality, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
With the tweet that he came out with, though, it kind of, I think, serves us well, honestly, because his tweet basically said, I'm building a wallet with not that many features. If that tweet was cryptic for saying, hey, here's what my wallet's going to have, maybe he legitimately was just sharing an idea, right? Maybe that wasn't in reference to his wallet at all. But if it was, he said, limit the coins you can send, give you the ability to take away the ability to interact with dApps. Well, then then Internet Money Wallet and his product wouldn't even be in the same category of things.
Right.
Because you can do everything in crypto on the Internet Money Wallet. Yeah, there's risks with that, but I mean, there's risks with freedom. So should we take away freedom because there's risks? I can't say I agree with him on that particular philosophy there.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it may be one of those wallets with training wheels type things where you can onboard people.
Sure.
Give them a wallet to use, give them the security and the opportunity not to hurt themselves. So, and then once they get a little more experienced, obviously, then we can branch out into the internet monies and the Rabbies and the things like that are out there that are, obviously have a little bit more functionality and ability to work with the dApps. So that's a good answer.
No, and that's a really fair point. I mean, because we all know this, the biggest thing in crypto that holds crypto back is accessibility. So
yeah,
maybe that's the target market he's going to go for, is only the people who are maybe moving off of centralized exchanges right into DeFi. And maybe the Richard Hart wallet becomes the first stop. And then when they're like, okay, I've learned a little bit more, they go out, they do their own research, then yeah, like you said, they can expand into these other, I don't know what the different term would be, but DeFi wallets.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting point by you too, that like it isn't what he tweeted, and I actually forgot about that tweet, so I'm glad you brought that up. But like what he tweeted about a wallet it wouldn't really be something that would even compete with you, I don't think, or anything, And even if it did, I mean, like everybody's kind of looking to do that anyway. I mean, that's what makes products better, is healthy competition. So it is interesting. I don't know why, for some reason, when he tweeted about that, I wasn't even looking at it as a hint to like what he could or could not be having worked on in the background. Maybe I should remember to read between the lines with his tweets, obviously. But definitely interesting for sure. Ewok, did you have another one, or did you want me to go here with? Okay,
go ahead. 20 years.
I have to ask you this, and we're kind of jumping, all over the place here, but I really want to talk mindset for a second with you, KG, because again, I really like the way that you kind of break things down. I think very thoughtful way that you present things. I tuned into about 20 to 30 minutes of that space that you did. It was a couple Sundays ago, and I don't know who the other guy was, but it was you and him for like the first 25 minutes. We're just talking about like price and where, mindset of everybody right now. And I found it, like a grounding, good conversation. It was very calm, which you don't really find in crypto anywhere. So that's appreciated. And then I saw your video here on Twitter the other day where you were talking about like what actually is success. And I don't think that is, I think some people hear that and it's like this, they might look at that as the starting of like, oh, are you moving the goalposts on us now? Like I'm not supposed to have the dreams that I did before. I didn't look at it that way. I'm not, maybe I'm making that up. Maybe nobody thought that, but I found that video was about 4 minutes, like really refreshing, because it was talking about what do you actually deem success? Because we're in this culture right now that it is, we've got smartphones. Everybody has, every social media app and everything, and you can see everything that everybody else is doing. And on one hand, it's fantastic that like three guys like us that are like-minded can sit here and communicate in this way, which we never would have been able to, 30 years ago or whatever. But now I can see how Andrew Tate allegedly lives. I can see how like all these people lives and these crazy lifestyles they have, and they're telling young men that they have to do this and have to do that to be successful. And I thought you made a great video because you were saying like, hey, you literally said one of my interests. You were like, hey, maybe an interest for you is like just being out in a cabin in the woods and you're happy, And I think that's really interesting, and it's healthy for people to hear that right now, especially when prices are down and they don't know how long this crypto journey is going to last. Is like, what is your actual definition of success? So I was wondering if you could like expound a little bit on those points and tell us specifically how that's helped you over the years, because you obviously have done work to like cultivate that. You weren't just born thinking that way. I mean, especially with all that we're subjected to right now, like I just said, it's very hard to rewire yourself that way when you see all these other people having massive success. So whatever direction you want to take it there, I'm just really interested on your thought process on all that.
Well, first of all, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about these things. I enjoy talking about crypto. I love crypto, but at the foundation of who I am as a person and you could argue my greatest passion is comparative philosophy and religion, just because I think those three big questions that no human being has ever been able to answer. And we've been talking about it since human beings could talk. Where did we come from? What are we doing here? Where are we going? This whole bookshelf.
Yeah.
That's what all those books are behind me. So I think it is very important for people to hear that message. And it's not me moving the goalpost. It's actually me exposing another side of myself that's always been here that maybe I've been a little more nervous to share, because I mean, I could have used other language too in that video, which I'm glad you liked and appreciate that. But there's even some language that I might start to use that they might say, is KG on, is he on some other type of drugs? We need to check in on him. But, so I want to build up to like really saying the things that I want to say. And, you might call it the spiritual, the mindset realm. But so it's always been a part of me. It's just coming out. It's not new. But reason why I was inspired to share that message is because I do see a lot of people, and myself too, a lot of content you'll see me tweet about or videos I make, it's actually messages to myself. I'm speaking to myself. So it helps me to reflect on and articulate things out. But it actually came a part of my life when I was getting my real estate license about 8 years ago at this point. And I was working at Pizza Hut. I was working at this other restaurant being a waiter. And I was introduced to this book called Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read the book or even listened to the audiobook, that's how I read it, was via audiobook. And then this is another little thing. You can get absolute inspiration, wisdom from the most unlikely places. If you've seen The Matrix, there's Morpheus in the movie. A Morpheus for me was a dishwasher at the restaurant. The guy that nobody would pay attention to, this guy completely pulled me out, because I had been introduced to Think and Grow Rich, but he had already read it. He was already way deep down that rabbit hole. And maybe you could argue he wasn't applying it because he was a dishwasher, but he was the happiest person that I interacted with. Every time I had a new crazy idea, he had already thought about it for years before me. He was an older guy. So and this is all leading up to a point. Thank you. Apologies for the longer answer. But point being is that people get stuck in these ideas of, I've got to have a lot of money. And so they stress and they're depressed, when in reality, maybe that is what would make you happy or feel successful. But at the end of it, only you know what would make you happy and feel successful. And as long as you're embarking upon those things, I think you are a successful person. And following those things is what led me here to crypto. It was scary to be a crypto project founder. I had a successful real estate business that I'd been building for 7 years, and year over year, I was making more money. When I walked away from real estate to start this crypto endeavor, was my highest producing year as a human being ever. I had never made more money than I did that year in real estate. And I walked away to put all my attention on a thing that was completely risky. I didn't know if it would work, but all I knew is that I was inspired and driven, and it felt like, rather than me trying to create it, I was being pulled towards it. And so whether or not it was successful, which it is, I felt successful by going after it.
That's really interesting that you had the cojones, I guess I would say, to leave what you were previously doing to start the crypto journey. And I think that's one thing that you can gain, like you were talking about reading Think and Grow Rich. And I totally, that point you made about the dishwasher resonates with me too, because I've met many like wise older people at strange,
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like
I do.
you wouldn't, like, I would not expect to see you here. But that's really interesting because it gives you that, you everybody I think has to look inward to like really figure out what it is they want, where they're going to go, and what goals you want to go after and what things you want to pursue. And you had the foresight to get into crypto and stuff like that because you were true to yourself. You knew that you wanted more and stuff like that. And I think that's what people have to do. And I think right now, not to just like dumb it down to like just the markets and crypto and prices going up and down and stuff like that. But when you see people's confidence shaken so strongly, I mean, they could just be over leveraged, but also
Sure.
That's part of not having a plan to begin with, I think. And that could be the whole way from, what you're saying down to like a spiritual or goal level or whatever it is, or literally just an investment thesis of some sort. Like people just don't have maybe a plan, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10-year plan to go after. And I think that might be why we see this capitulation left and right and drama all over Twitter all the time. I hope that Ewok and I on this show try to be, a calm voice among a lot of the things that are going on. And I hope, outlets like you and I would value you for sure doing continued spaces or doing little videos like that if it's easier for you. But I hope those are outlets that will help people kind of like calm down and realize how to actually go about this stuff. I don't know if you have any other points. I just really found like you broke down the definition of success, which I thought was really interesting too. And I don't know if you could repeat that here if you remember it, or like how people may want to use that to look at it differently to kind of, get their mindset correct.
Sure. Yeah. So that definition of success that I talked about in that video was actually by a man, Earl Nightingale, which is interesting. A lot of this self-help philosophy comes from the early 1900s, which those guys were in the Great Depression, and it spawned self-help. I mean, It's just interesting how humanity works. So anyways, he said, Earl Nightingale said, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And on the onset, it's like, what? And I keep thinking about that for all these years, and it continues to, expose itself in new ways. And basically what I take from that is, so you have a progressive realization where realization, okay, bear with me for a moment. So the suffix ization means to create or to make real, to bring into life. So a realization is a creating, bringing to life of a real thing. So the progressive realization is the continual bringing to life, right? You're not poofing magic into existence. You are working towards and bringing something to life. It's progressive. It's continual. There's no end date, right? Really, people who often experience the phenomenon of success don't stop when they get there. There is no there, so to speak, right? So, and then the progressive realization, that's the first part, of a worthy ideal. This is where all of humanity argues. Because worthy, I bet if the three of us took time to explain what we thought something that is worthy is, we would all have maybe we'd agree on some stuff, but we'd all have its own nuances. So that's why I like to use the example of, Jeff Bezos in Amazon mega whatever. And then you have Henry David Thoreau, who's an old author, and he lived back in the 1850s-ish. Anyways, complete hippie kind of guy, lived in the woods in the cabin, but was resonating with people at Harvard of the time. He was one of the intellectuals of his time period, but he wanted to have nothing. That was success to him, is have as little as possible and be as in tune with nature as possible. So most people would look at him and say he was a bum. He wasn't successful. And they'll look at Jeff Bezos and say Jeff Bezos is successful. But Thoreau deemed worthiness as minimalism, and Bezos deems worthiness as the opposite of that. All the things, literally. Right. I want to get it to you by a drone. So it is up to the person to decide what is worthy of spending their time working towards creating it. And that's what that, definition, in my opinion, ultimately means. And the biggest thing people struggle with is they get scared, which is totally normal. Bob Proctor actually talks about this concept of the terror barrier, that people approach this barrier ready to blast into their dreams. And it's a decision that they either bounce back into their old bad habits that are holding them down, or they blast through it, right? So it's this concept of terror barrier. Most people get hit with that and go back because it's their family, their friends, their partners, their own insecurities. They say, nah, just be safe. You can't do it. You can't be successful. That's not what you're supposed to do. And then they go back, and then most people just live miserable and depressed. And, so it is scary to pursue your dreams. And especially because you're putting yourself out there and you're thinking, what if people don't accept it? So I think that ultimately answers your question of breaking down that definition. I wish I could say it in less words, but it's hard to do that.
No, matter of fact, you spawned some Earl Nightingale love in the chat. So that is
there we go.
Yeah. But definitely appreciate that. Yeah, it definitely is. I like the concept of the terror barrier too. And I think that's something that if a lot of people, if you're in crypto and you've got a lot of your life savings in it and you've worked this hard, you're up against that terror barrier, basically. Shout out Frank Molina. We saw him in the chat a minute ago. Appreciate it. DJ Moonboy, we'll get to you here in just a second, unless you want to now, Ewok. There's no good way to transition out of that answer and question. I thought that was really good. But Ewok, what direction do you want to take it from here?
Let's read DJ Moonboy's question because it kind of ties into one of the things that I had mentioned. So let's read that. Stop.
I'll hands off. Go ahead.
It says, KG, I downloaded your wallet a few months ago. Really like it. You may have since changed it, but I really struggled with being able to read the seed words due to the size and font. Thanks for being on the show and all you do. And thank you for the 1999 tip, DJ Moonboy. So this goes back to one of the questions that I had written down, and I honestly have had this complaint, I guess it would be from three different people, and that is the most scary part of a wallet is your seed phrase. And each one of them had said, man, when these words pop up, they're so hard to read. I'm nervous I'm not getting the right, because a lot of the letters, I don't know if it's the font, I don't know if it's the size, or what it is. But have you heard that anywhere else, or have you thought about possibly changing it, or is this the first you're hearing of it from anybody?
So this is something that we've heard of relatively recently. I'm going to assume the people, and I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, please tell me, because hey, we can only grow if people tell us what's wrong, is they were probably on Chrome, and maybe it is mobile, but what we've noticed is the font that we used on certain browser resolutions can appear kind of like the letters bleed together. And in the short term, you can overcome that by zooming in. It'll unbleed them, I guess. So you can get a really clear view of them. But in the in the near term future, we're just going to change the font completely because we shouldn't have. This is the thing about software. You're down to resolutions on computers bleeding certain font types together, so ultimately, yes, that is going to be enhanced.
Cool. Well, that's an easy fix, right? I mean, if it were like I send funds and things aren't working, that's a big problem, right? But obviously the seed phrase is though the key to all of this. If you ever want back in it and you lose it, so I mean, however it's very important. It seems to be a pretty easy fix. So again, I just wanted to bring that up to you that I've heard it a couple times. I was hoping that you had too, and you guys were working on something if you haven't already. But no, that's awesome. Good to hear.
Well, first of all, DJ Moonboy, thank you for being a part of it.
Yep.
Crypto Ewok, thank you for onboarding and enough times to hear some feedback. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So that leads me into my next question. For those who don't know, we wanted to have you on here. Tell everybody what Internet Money Wallet is, and kind of lead into what the time token does as well, the best you can for a couple minutes here, and we'll give them the best overview you can, and tell us why you created what you did.
Sure, absolutely appreciate the opportunity to speak on it. So, for those who don't know, I am the founder of InternetMoney.io. Got the website here, and we are a multi-chain EVM wallet. If you're not familiar with what that means, if you've ever used MetaMask or Coinbase wallet, we are, or Rabby wallet or a wallet like that, we're an alternative in that space. So all Ethereum and Ethereum based blockchains you can interact with in the Internet Money wallet. We're available on Android, iOS, and Chrome. We've got a lot of cool features. And one of the main differences two of the main differences between our wallet and the other wallets I named and others out there is for the PulseChain community is we are native to and optimized for PulseChain. So like if you download MetaMask, for example, you're automatically on Ethereum. And when you download the Internet Money wallet, you're automatically on PulseChain. So there are other wallets out there that support PulseChain, like MetaMask, like Rabby. But the problem is they're not optimized for PulseChain. So some people with what they're doing have a fine experience. But being that we're in the wallet space, we literally hear about it all day, every day, that MetaMask and Rabby, people are having more stuck transactions. They're getting weird errors. And those teams, they might get to it, but they're not focused on it. Whereas in our reality, PulseChain is our home base. And so when something like that happens, it's fixed. And people may think, oh, all of these EVM chains are the same. Like they are and they're not. Every piece of software has its own nuances and it has to be accommodated for. So we provide the best experience from a wallet in terms of transacting on PulseChain. But the second biggest thing that we have we are the only wallet in existence that has this is we have an in-app swap feature. Now, other wallets do have that, but the main difference between ours and the other wallet swap feature is A, we're less expensive than the major competitors, and B, we share 100% of the revenue that the swap generates, whereas the competitors keep 100% of the revenue. So you're paying more and you're getting nothing. In our wallet, you're paying less and you're getting some share of 100%. And so that is done in the form of our token Time. Now, Time Dividend is the full name, but the ticker is Time. It currently exists on Ethereum, Binance, PulseChain, and Polygon. And so depending on what chain you hold it on, you earn revenue on that chain. And it is because 100% of the revenue is going to time holders. Let's say you hold 1% of the time supply, you're earning 1% of the revenue. It's directly proportional to how much you hold. So you can't be diluted because no more time tokens are being minted. Actually, it's the opposite. It's deflating, but we'll get into that later. So if you, depending on what chain you hold time on, you're earning passive income on that chain. And the form of the token you're earning passive income in is actually the native coin. So if you're holding time on PulseChain, you're earning PLS. If you're holding time on Ethereum, you're earning ETH and BNB and Matic and whatever chain we launch on. So that's why time doesn't deflate, because you're not getting time tokens as rewards. You're literally getting the most sought after asset on all of these chains. And there's no staking, there's no locking. Time remains liquid 100%. So that's the high level overview.
Nice. So just to reiterate that, you don't have to stake it. You don't have to do anything. All you do is hold the token and your rewards come back as what? More time, more pulse, whatever network it's on. Right. Time is done. There's no more of that. It's not inflationary at all. So what are the rewards or your benefits paid in?
So again, if you're holding time on, let's use PulseChain as an example.
Yep.
you're earning PLS. You earn the native coin, the gas coin.
Perfect. Great. I just wanted to make that clear for everybody.
I appreciate it. That's a very important aspect.
Yep. Cool. Broke Boy, go ahead with your.
Did you? Yeah. Well, okay. I think this might take us to the end of the show. So we kind of both have a hard stop at 8 p.m. Eastern here, but I know Ewok had thoughts on this as well. But we would be remiss if we did not bring up the Minect initiative that you were just involved in. You, Brandon Davis, obviously Rags to Riches, and Gary Woods all did better than I think all of our wildest dreams in this Minect contest that Patrick Bet David ran from Valuetainment. We all watched it for, how long did it run? Was it like a couple of months there? It felt like anyway,
maybe a month and a half, possibly.
Yeah.
It was so crazy watching all of you guys bounce up and down the leaderboard, pretty much all maintaining around a top 10 ranking and then dueling with names like Tulsi Gabbard the whole way up and down. It was just fantastic to see all that, knowing that like not only was it 3 crypto dudes, but also 3 PulseChain dudes.
Right.
Which was cool to see. And obviously, you guys offer more than just shilling PulseChain to that app. I mean, there's many questions that they can ask. Ultimately, with Gary coming out on top, which you were leading for a while, KG. Brandon, I think, was leading for maybe the most out of you 3 from what I can remember. It seemed that way from just when I was looking. But just insane to have you all wind up in the top 5 by the time this thing is over. And I'm curious if you could just kind of speak to the experience as a whole. What kind of just getting onto the platform, a chance to be able to even meet up with Patrick Bet David and things like that, what this could do for the ecosystem, what it could do for just networking and things like that. And maybe just some of the experiences that you had with people that reached out to you. Was it stuff like just like what we're talking about tonight in terms of like crypto wallet security stuff, crypto investing, like what kind of stuff is it? How's your experience been with the Minect app? But, first off, I think we all say thank you, obviously, to you for sure, for representing our community in that way, because, Ewok and I talk about it all the time. Like, I think there's different levels of people that do things for this ecosystem, and there's like chart watchers just at home that don't do much other than invest, which Richard Hart kind of called out the other day. There's people that do create content and stuff like that, like we do, or Twitters and things like that. But then there's people that really do great outreach and are creating real products like you do. So yeah, I'm just really interested on all angles of this Minect thing and what you got out of that experience so far.
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on it. And I want to say, just if it's okay with you, one more thing about the wallet that I think is important, and then I'll transition into the Minect answer. That's okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one thing, because I know you guys got a hard stop. So one thing I really wanted people to know to finish the wallet thought was we do have the in-app swap on those 4 chains, but actually the wallet is the best place to swap on PulseChain. We have an in-app DEX aggregator, and we aggregate to more liquidity sources than any other place on PulseChain. Someone might say, oh, what about Pateus? We also aggregate to Pateus. So if Pateus is the best place to swap, that option will be presented to you and you could swap there. But we aggregate to all the DEXs individually as well. So not only is 100% of that revenue being distributed, it's also the most profitable place to trade while that's occurring. So I just wanted to make sure that was known. Best place to swap on PulseChain.
That's very cool. Very cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So yeah, I mean, I encourage people, hey, put $5 in there and just try the swap. See the results you get. That's all I ask.
Cool.
So, okay.
Sweet.
So to the Minect answer, that was, you said thank you to me, which I do appreciate. I did put a lot of time and effort into it, but really, I got to say thank you to the community, because I wouldn't even have had a chance to compete, really, if it wasn't for the community putting up their own dollars and their own time and downloading the app and asking the questions and all those things. So without this community, none of us would have been in the position that we were in. And I think it was a unique way to spread some awareness. I mean, we'll see how effective it is, and as time goes on. But I think that myself, Gary, and Brandon were each good representatives of PulseChain, being that we're all kind of pro crypto in general, even though, PulseChain is our home base. We like crypto. We talk about all forms of crypto, all different chains. So I think we have a level of neutrality about us. And we also all have other interests that we publicly express to. Brandon seems to maybe be a little more political. Gary seems to be more, networking and VC startup type. I tend to try to put out more philosophical content. Not to say those guys don't do as well, but mine's different. Obviously, we all have our own flair. So I think any one of us that would have made it would have been a good representative for the community, and especially those two guys being up there. I think they're great representatives. It goes to show truly how powerful this community is if you think about it. Not only did we get two guys to win the challenge, I was in 4th, so I almost placed, but we got 3 guys in the top 4, all pushed up by this apparently little nobody community. Competing with real names, like you said, Tulsi Gabbard on the government level. It just goes to show not only how powerful crypto is, but how powerful the PulseChain community is. And I was getting all kinds of questions. I mean, the questions I was getting was, I got people, the most common set of questions I got from people I didn't recognize was like, how do I get started in crypto? And so obviously I pointed them to the Internet Money Wallet. I introduced in the chains like PulseChain. So how many people did that actually onboard? I don't know, but I do know that I got dozens of questions centered around how do I crypto? So all in all, only a positive thing. We as a community, we miss 100% of the shots we don't take. So even if it proves to not be fruitful, we wouldn't have known unless we tried, and we tried. And so I think we should continue, whether it's me next time or person ABC, we should continue to support people who are trying to step out of the community to bring out of the community awareness back into it.
Totally agree, and well said. Now I got to say, since you were not in the top 3, is there any potential of you sneaking into this dinner with Patrick Bet David? Is there any, how did you horn your way in somehow, not placing, so to speak? Is there any way for you to get in there?
So I'm hopeful. I'm not going to make no expectations.
Right.
I am hopeful. I've talked with the Minect team. I actually spoke with the founder, the lead developer, and the project manager about, I've become a Minect expert, let's say. I think I've taken the tokenomics of Minect further than anybody else, probably, because I just can't help it. So it landed me a call with them because I was asking really in-depth questions about it. So I want to say, and I'm not speaking for them, but my own perception is that I'm building somewhat of a relationship with the Minect team. So maybe I'll get an invite just by being a power user of the platform.
Nice.
But I can't guarantee that. So I truly have no idea at this moment.
Cool. One may say you're a Minexpert at this point. I've
thought about actually using that title, believe it or not. So yeah,
really?
Great minds think alike. Yeah, great minds think alike.
There you go. I like it. But yeah, regardless, I mean, yeah, what you 3 guys did, and like you said, yeah, I think it's a two-way street. Like the community too, and coming out and support for everybody as well. I think it's just phenomenal. And I guess I would just leave it with this, since we got to go, and this is kind of we're already kind of encapsulating this question, but like, what do you think? Is there anything else do you think this ecosystem can really do? Or people within the ecosystem that have influence and things like that can really do to get this bull market going? I mean, I think at this point, as far as prices, I mean, we're all kind of just waiting for the rest of the market to perk up. Bitcoin was kind of the standout in the first quarter of the year. We're waiting for Ethereum to catch up off the announcement of the ETF. We were talking about that at the top of the show. And obviously this ecosystem is, we'd be lying if we didn't say it was a little dependent on Ethereum, which I mean is true of the most other layer 1s and blockchains and things like that. So I'm curious, kind of like just real quick, your outlook here for the next year, 2 years of this bull market, and where you kind of think this ecosystem goes from here.
I'm feeling both bearish and bullish. I'm bullish at the opportunity because we're so new. Look, we can say, it's been alive for a year, and those of us who sacrificed day one have been here for 3+ years. We've been in Hex. We've been around even longer than that because we heard about it coming. So we can say that it's been here for a long time, but in reality, a real mainnet product has only been here for a year. which is nothing in terms of things, 1 year. Come on. So I feel bullish on the opportunity, but I do feel a bit bearish, at least in the year, time frame, because I think about what's going to pump this ecosystem. Is it more protocols? Probably not. What do you want to do right now on PulseChain that we don't have? I personally can't think of anything. Now, I'm not saying there's no other cool things that we can't have. What do we need? We need an Oracle, but like, how much does the average person care about an Oracle? I mean, it's just point being. So I think, we have the government suppression, the biggest rug pullers in the world, absolute mobster gangsters, suppressing Richard. And then you have Richard, who seems to be you've seen that Homer Simpson meme? Like he goes into the bushes.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it kind of seems like that's what Richard's doing a little bit. Not that I think he's rugging or scamming or anything in that respect, but I think he's probably being told by his attorneys, like, don't do anything. Like, don't give him any ammo. So I kind of feel like his silence is going to be prolonged until he's, the case settles. And if the case settles positively for him, then he's going to be able to talk.
Yeah.
Huh?
Look out. I mean, it's not
look out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it settles negative for him, who knows? Maybe one of the settlement things is he can never talk about crypto or PulseChain again. It's not something that's out of the realm of possibility. So I think I'm bearish in the short term, but bullish in the long term is my overall PulseChain outlook right now.
I hear that. Yeah. I think in the short term, as far as price goes and things like that, we may not see like any kind of crazy action here for a bit, but I think you make up a great point there is like, what do we really need or what is everybody yearning for that we don't already have? Obviously, some people might be like, oh, the PulseX single-sided staking and things like that. But there's, it's a great ecosystem. I mean, whether you're into the memes or not, I mean, it's all there. There's a lot of stuff happening there. There's volume on chain. It's a vibrant community with a lot of things for, old school hex stakers. If you still want to do 5-5-5-5s, or if you want to just play the meme game, whatever you want to do, there's a lot happening here. And, no other DEX in crypto is like PulseX with his buy and burn, And speaking of PulseX, speaking of your points right there, Frank Molina with a couple of great chats in the chat tonight. Another guy who likes to think long-term, has a great long-term outlook, very bullish long-term for the ecosystem. So, him, two great minds that we've had on this show that echo the similar sentiments. So,
and I just wonder, has anybody ever had that ruling, KG, that you know of, that they're not allowed to speak of what they are professed professionals or experts in before? Are you aware of any other cases that ended that way where they weren't allowed to talk about it anymore?
I can't name a case. I think one that did happen was, if you guys are familiar with the Stoner Cats, I don't know if you ever heard of that NFT project. No. It was actually Mila Kunis, Ashton Kutcher, Chris Rock, Vitalik, and some other old lady actress, but they created a cartoon, and the way to get access to the cartoon was to own a Stoner Cat NFT. And so each one of them, even Vitalik was a part of it. Right. And the SEC sued them, stole investors' money. Not them. The SEC stole investors' money, which is hilarious.
Right.
And I don't think they're allowed to speak about or propagate the narrative of Stoner Cats anymore. I don't know if it went as far as crypto, but there's, when people get cease and desist orders, they can't, to my knowledge, they can't talk about the thing anymore. It's part of ceasing and desisting. And so,
yeah, and because Vitalik still talks about crypto, obviously.
Exactly.
So I don't think it was that, but
exactly. So, yeah. So, but see, then again, Ethereum basically got deemed not a security. So it's, maybe he can't talk about unregistered securities anymore. You know what I mean? Right. So like maybe that's the loophole. And, I also I want to say to my point about we don't really need anything on chain. I don't want to discourage builders, because an ecosystem can only stand to be more vibrant when we have more options. My point in saying that was, it's not that people don't have anything to do right now, and that's why things aren't bullish. For the average crypto user, you've already got it. If you think about wanting to do it, it's there. So I just wanted to clear that up because I'm all builders for builders empowerment. So
right, understood where you were coming from. Basically, what you're saying is we don't need 25 more meme coins to spread the liquidity more, thinner than what it already is.
It's
we may be getting them. We may be getting them. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that does it from our end. Unless you had any final thing, Ewok, but we really appreciate you coming in, KG. I think a lot of people derived a lot of good out of the stream. There's a lot of interest in Internet Money Wallet in the chat, I can see, and I think we had I loved our conversation about like kind of just mindset overall for success and in crypto business, whatever it is that you're kind of in tune with. And I would love to have you on again sometime to get even deeper into that topic. I think that's a good conversation always, really, and a lot of evergreen stuff. But before we let you go, where kind of can everybody find you? How can people get to Internet Money Wallet if they want to get it set up? Let them know where they can get all this stuff done at.
Yeah. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I would love to stream with you guys more. Again, thank you for your patience. I know it's been a couple weeks in the making, but I'm finally getting the studio room set up. And so I'm able to stream a little more consistently, and I appreciate you guys, and I would love to stream again. So I hope that I didn't push you guys away with the inconsistency there. But again, thank you guys. You're awesome. You can find anything you need to know about internet money. Just go to internetmoney.io. You can find our YouTube, Telegram, Twitter, website, wallet download links, contract addresses, everything right on the website. And if you want to reach me personally, you can go to my site, contactkg.com.
Perfect. Cool. There you go. So if you are interested in Internet Money Wallet to hook up straight to PulseChain, there you go. We know how to do it now. I appreciate all the info from KG tonight. Thank all of you guys in the chat for watching. Smash the like on the way out. We do the show every single Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for our guest of honor, KG, for Crypto Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. We'll catch you guys next week right here, same time, same channel on the Creed of Crypto podcast. See you guys.